Okay, so I have started the recording. Uh, Hello and welcome everyone to problem solving session for NPTEL course Problem Solving Through Programming in C week 1. So in this course, in this particular sessions we are having 3 sessions. You may be aware of that. One is on Friday and 2 are today, that is Tuesday, and all of these sessions are actually will have the similar content. We will be solving similar set of problems. So if you join one of these session, I don't think that you need to join the other sessions. So they are there so that if someone has problem on Friday and cannot join, they can join it on other days. That's first. And in these sessions we will be solving a bunch of problems which are similar to your assignment problems, so that the aim is so as to help you understand the problems, and so that you can solve the assignment problems, and you can ask your doubts in these sessions. Any doubts which you have related to the maybe past assignments or the content of the weeks, you can ask. And please do not ask the problems which are given for this week. And for today's session I have 10 problems, and I will be so what we will do is that we will read one problem at a time, and then we will I'll give you all a little bit of time to think about it, and I'll ask you to write down your answers in the chat box. And then if the question requires some kind of an explanation, then I'll ask one of you to unmute yourself and explain it. And after that I will go through the solution, and if you have any doubts, just stop me. Whenever you have a doubt, just stop me. You can unmute yourself or write your question in the chat box, and I will try to answer. This session is actually meant to be for 2 hours, and it will be from 6 to 8 every Tuesday. And sorry, but I have not introduced myself. So my name is Nikita Yadav, and I am a PhD student in IISc Bangalore, and I work in computer system security. I think that is enough. So let's get started with the first problem. Do you have any doubts regarding whatever I've said so far? Okay. I think I'll have to scroll. Okay. So the first problem, I think the screen is visible. If not, just let me know. The first problem is that the input given from the keyboard is converted to computer understandable unit, which is a bit 0 or 1, by the standard. There are 4 options: ISO, ANSI, ASCII, and EBCDIC. So yeah, I think people, maybe there was a delay, and I just let in some of the people. Yeah, so a lot of you have given the answer correctly, and there are some confusions also.
ASCII.
Okay, Tushar, yeah. And okay. So yeah. So people are still typing their answers in the chat box, and I'm waiting for everybody. Okay. Okay. So I think most of you got the answer correctly, and which is ASCII, and some of you gave the answer as ANSI, B option as well, and I think some might have given, yeah, I think B option and C option were the major answers which were given. And one of you is saying that screen is not visible. So is it for everyone? Can someone confirm that the screen is visible? Okay, So, okay, Sai, please check that it is probably for you, but the screen is visible for others. So the answer to this problem is ASCII. And so the first two are ISO and ANSI. These are actually organizations which form standards, and they are for different kind of products, services, etc., and they are not related as such to the computers, primarily only to computers. And so their standard, the standard which is used to convert the keyboard, so here by input which is given by the keyboards are generally these like digits 0 to 9, and the alphabets A to Z, and there are some punctuation marks like comma, exclamation, etc. So these inputs are usually converted to the computer understandable unit, which is bits, by using the ASCII standard. And now I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the ASCII standard. So ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange, and it is a character encoding. So what does that mean is that a character encoding means that you represent every character, which is like A, B, C, etc. Every character you represent by a numerical value. Okay, and so that because the computers only understand the bits, like a computer only understand the machine language, which is a string of zeros and ones, and numbers we can then represents into the binary form. So we first represent the characters into the numerical values, characters which are like graphical characters into the numerical values, so that they can be stored and we can do some computation on them. And every numeric value is called a character that makes up a character encoding is called a code point, and these code points collectively will be called a code space. So ASCII has 128 code points, and of which 95 are printable characters, which consist of the digits 0 to 9, and capital alphabets capital A to capital Z, and small alphabets small a to small z, Z, and they have an encoding. For example, 0 is encoded as decimal 48, which is this. I hope all of you understand the binary representation of the decimal numbers. So here we are using 7 bits to encode the 128 code points. So do you have share a Jamboard with the meeting? Yeah, I can use the whiteboard when required. I had planned to use the slides as it is, but I'm not able to share them from my iPad. I'll debug that for the next time. So can anyone try to answer why 7 bits are enough to represent 128 code points? Like whiteboard. Are you guys thinking? Okay, can you answer anybody? Can you all answer in the chat box that whether you are familiar with binary representation of numbers or not? Like how will you represent 1 in binary, 2 in binary, 3 in binary, and so on?
Oh, 127 is a largest number which can be held in binary, which can be represented in 7 bits.
Yeah, and what would be the representation for that in binary?
All ones.
Right. So Yeah, so 0 will be all zeros, 1 will be 6 zeros, and there'll be 1. The first bit will be 1, others will be all zeros. And so you can represent from 0 to 127, which is 128 numbers, including 0, which is 128 code points, using 7 bits. So ASCII used 7 bits to represent 128 code points, that is 128 characters, as I already said. But 128 code points is not enough to represent a lot of different languages and scripts, etc., because we are here able to represent represent only English alphabets, but not others. So that is why a more popular encoding is Unicode, which is used by modern computers and which has millions of code points, and it represents even emojis. So it is very expressive, and the character encoding basically allows your computer to understand the graphical characters, and therefore it helps interchange of information worldwide. Like if you can interchange the text in an electronic format. So that is ASCII. It is a standard for encoding the graphical characters into numerical values, which can then be represented in the binary form, which is understood by the computers. So does anyone have a doubt? Was this clear? Am I going too slow, or is it fine? Sorry, you were not audible.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
What is the relation between ASCII and compiler? Compiler's job is to convert the high-level language.
Yeah. Yes.
ASCII is also doing the same. But, what way things work?
So ASCII is an encoding. It is a way. It's an character encoding standard. It's not a compiler. Compiler will do that job. So compiler is the piece of program which is going to take
That's
your...
a software.
Yeah, it's a software which will do this translation for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Okay, thanks for the question. And Sai, yes, I am recording the video and I'm going to put it on YouTube, and I will share that YouTube link with all of you. Is there a Discord channel for this course? I'm sorry, I'm not aware of if there is a Discord channel or not at any place which is available where all of you are, or a platform where all of you are available. Or I will so let's figure out that at the end of the session. But yeah, it is being recorded and I will post it on YouTube, and after that the link will be made available to all of you by, I think, a mail will be sent to all of you. So let's go to the second problem. So the question is, I hope it is visible. The question is that the execution nature of C program is, there are 4 options. Is there any question?
Sequential, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sequential. Sequential, ma'am.
Okay. That is correct answer. So, okay, then those of you who are giving the answer as sequential, yeah, Hanumant, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask. Hello. Hanumant, you are not audible to me. Can you write you are not audible. Could you write your question in the chat box?
Ma'am,
Yes.
your voice is not loud.
Is my audio not coming? So I'm going to ask someone. Okay, it's audible for some people but not for others. Please, and those who are facing problem, please try to rejoin. I think it may resolve the issue. And Hanumant, I am not able to hear you, so please type in your question and I'll take it from the chat. Now, those of you who have answered D, it is correct. But now I'm going to ask you one by one that what does these terms mean and do you understand them? So first of all, what is sequential? Can any one of you have answered D? Can take-
In a sequence,
Line by line, it will be executed.
in the code.
Okay. Ordered manner. Okay, so can flow of control is line by line manner, sequential means row wise. Okay, so in terms of a program, sequential will mean instruction by instruction or line by line. Yeah, that is correct. Or one statement to the next statement. Sorry.
Algorithm after algorithm, it will follow orderly in the order it is mentioned by the programmer. Yes.
Yeah, line by line, program statement by statement. Algorithm I think would not be the correct word to use. But anyway, so here some of you are saying that I should speak loudly. Am I still not audible?
You are audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so sequential, I think all of you understand. It means that the program will be executed sequentially from first statement to till the last, and the control flow. So the program will be executed. All the statement will be executed one after the other. Okay, and that's line by line, we can say. And I think for those whom my voice is little bit low, probably the problem could be at your end because others are able to hear. I am trying to speak loudly also. And then, okay, so then can any one of you try to answer what is an event based? What will be an event based execution? Neera Prasad, you're not audible to me.
It's 6:32 p.m.
A group of instructions meant for a purpose.
Group of instruction meant for a purpose. That's you're saying is event based.
Ma'am, event based would be like there is some condition mentioned, so it would be one event. If it is true, then it would happen. If it is false, then it would go inside the loop and it will work accordingly as per the events mentioned.
But that's a C program that you write, and it will have loops and conditions. But you said that it is sequential. Hanumant, you're not audible. I see you try that compiler can
Event based means such a thing like when we touch something, then we will get alert notification. Likewise, when we perform an event, then we will get the result, ma'am.
Okay, can you go repeat once? Notification, what did you say?
When we perform any action, then we will get the result, ma'am.
Okay. yeah, action, yeah, that is related to event based and triggers. Yeah, so Leela, can you write in the chat box because I'm not able to hear you? And same for Hanumant. So compiler, you have written compiler can read the sequentially the instruction which are given into the program. So actually the job of the compiler is to convert the C program into instructions that can be executed by the processor, so like machine code. And it is the job of the compiler to spit out that instructions. And I think what you said, that does not make sense. And so the event based execution means that, okay, I should not change the slide. Okay, so the event based is that, so the flow of the program is determined by events such as user action, sensor outputs, message passing from other program or threads. So I'll give an example. Let's say you have a sensor, you have a bulb in your room which has a sensor that can detect whether someone is in the room or not. So whenever you enter into the room, it will be on and there'll be light in the room. So that program is working whenever it senses. So it's working based whenever there is a trigger, and the trigger is that a person is entering the room. So that is a trigger. When the trigger happens, the program is run. And so when a program runs or the program flow is affected by some actions, by some events, then that is a event based execution. When we perform some action, then the result will be executed, such as when we touch some things, we will get output as message. Yeah, that is one. That is a correct example as told by Leela in the chat. Then, what is a concurrent execution, and what is a multi-threaded execution?
Concurrent means execution all at a time, simultaneously.
Okay. Anyone else wants to try?
Multiple users can access and use the same database at one time.
Yeah, that is an example of a concurrent access. That means that the program is allowing multiple users to access it concurrently. So yeah, some parts of the program are, so basically the database is probably multi-threaded. Different users are using different threads, but so a concurrent or a multi-threaded execution of a program would mean that first either there are multiple programs which are in execution, also called processes. So multiple programs are in execution, and I'll try to share my screen if possible. Just wait for 1 minute. Multi-threaded, multiple instruction execute simultaneously. Whiteboard. I think one of you had shared a Jamboard. When is that? I'll start a Jamboard. Okay, I hope the Jamboard is visible. So here inviting. There is some lag. I think I'm not able to write on this. Anyways, so okay. So I'll just tell it verbally and try to share it later. So concurrent. So let's assume that there are two programs which are running, and if the programs run one by one, first one program will run, say call it P1, first that program runs, and when it finishes then you start the next program P2 and it runs. And so if they are running one after the other, that is a sequential execution. But if you have, let's say if your laptop or your computer or your processor has multiple, if there are multiple processing units, if there are multiple processors or multiple cores in a processor, then you can run multiple programs or multiple programs simultaneously at the same time. So program 1 P1 will be running on core 1 and program 2 will be running on core 2, and they will be running together simultaneously, and that is a concurrent execution. Or it is possible that they share the same resource, that is same processor. So for some time P1 will execute, and then P1 will be preempted, like it will be moved out, and then P2 will execute for some time, and then P1 will execute again, and then P2 will execute. So they can share the same processor and execute one after the other until they finishes. So that is also that it means that both of them are making progress. It's not like one of them is executing.
Presenting on Jamboard.
Yeah, I wanted to write on Jamboard, but I'm not. When I'm writing it on Jamboard, it is not visible on my laptop, so that's why I dropped that idea. But what I said, so what I'm saying is that there are, let's say there are two programs, if P1 and P2, if they run one after the other, that is a sequential execution. If they share the resource and execute in a interleaved manner, maybe P1 execute for some time, then P2 will execute for some time, then P1 will again execute, and then P2 will again execute. That is an execution in which both of them are making progress. So that is a concurrent execution. Or if there are multiple cores, then or a parallel execution, and if there are multiple cores, then P1 can execute on core 1, P2 can execute on core 2 simultaneously. That will be a concurrent execution. Now what is a multi-threaded execution? So multi-threaded means that a single program has multiple threads. So
Multiple users.
not users. So for example, your web browser like a Chrome or Mozilla. So your web browser is one program, one process, but each tab is a thread. So it's a thread. So execution, so process is one execution unit. Thread is also an
It's
execution
like
unit.
multiple channels.
Multiple channels on what?
It's a kind of multiple channels. A program executed multiple channels.
A program, sorry, but I don't understand the channel terminology here. What I'm saying is that your web browser, for example, or for example, in my screen, as you can see, multiple processes are open right now. There is one PDF viewer, then there is one.
I think he's saying like that the web browser is like a TV and the tabs are like different channels of it, and the program is one library program that is running on all of it that we can run. I think so.
Okay. Okay. So the program is so in this case there is one program, and the program is and we that is one execution unit, and then we have smaller units of execution which are called thread. And for example, in a web browser, we have the browser as one process and the tabs are the threads. So why do we like divide a process into threads? That is a question. And what are threads exactly? Actually, that you will get more details, let's say, in an operating system class, because it's the operating system concept. And so why do we then decompose a process into these threads? So one reason is that only concurrent execution. We want that the process do execution, make progress. If they have multiple cores, then we can run each thread on different core or different processor. I hope you understand the term core or processor. So we can run each thread on different processor, and the we can make progress. The program which might have executed in time t will now execute in time t by c, where c is a constant greater than 1. Means it will take less time. And that's the motivation to use multi-threaded. That is one of the motivation. There are others also, like we can someone had given an example of a database which is supporting multiple users to access it. So again, we have a multi-threaded program where different users are being served by a different thread. So that's multi-threaded. Now a normal C program, which usually has a sequential execution, but we can write multi-threaded programs in C. Okay, we can write programs which when run as a process will have multiple threads. And okay, I will not go into those details, but yeah, the answer to this problem is sequential. But I hope you understand what is an event-based execution, a concurrent execution, and a multi-threaded execution, and how is it different from a sequential. Okay, so I'm not able to open the Jamboard. What to do?
And the Jamboard is saying you need access from the owner.
Okay,
That
okay.
is the-
Okay, so if I were able to write to the Jamboard, I would have shown it on my screen. But is there a? I think.
Ma'am, on
Share.
multi-threaded, if we search on Google, then it would come like multiple users can access the central facility at the same time, like that.
Okay, so I first I have changed the access to the Jamboard to anyone can view. So probably one of you can try and confirm. And okay, then I will from next time write to the Jamboard. I will not be able to record it in this session. I'll try to record it from next time. So can you repeat your question, Tushar?
Ma'am, I was saying if we search multi-thread on
Option D, ma'am.
Yeah, Tushar, can you repeat?
Sequence D option.
Yeah, that question we have done. Yeah.
I was saying like if we search concurrent and multi-threaded on Google one by one, then concurrent is fine, like that you have tell that multiple processes are going on in the computer at the same time.
Yeah.
And multi-threaded is like it is coming like multiple users can access the central facility, that is like computer or program at the same time. Something like that is coming indeed in all boxes. So what that means in context to what you have typed?
What is coming in multi-threaded?
Multi-threaded is like showing, it is saying, firstly it is telling about thread is like a program and that sort.
Yeah.
And then it saying that multiple threads are running on the system and they can be accessed by multiple users. Multiple users, mainly it is coming that multiple users can access the central facility at the same time.
Yeah, so that is because each thread can a thread can, so if there are 4 cores, let's say if your laptop has 4 cores and you are running that server program, then the 4 threads can run on 4, each thread can run on a core. So that means 4 threads will be running simultaneously, and if 4 users try to do some operation in your program, which is a database, then each thread will be able to serve 1 user. So 4 users can be served simultaneously by 4 threads.
Ma'am, core is like, you are saying core is like working as an operating system, or like it is working as a player?
So core is a processor, I mean a CPU core.
Is this core is same as the core what we have in
Sorry, I could not hear you.
Ma'am, you are recording this?
No, is the core you were saying multi-thread. Is this thread is same as the thread what we see in the processor?
So processor can
Also having core.
Yeah.
Threads.
No, this thread which I am talking about is a user level thread, and it's a process thread. The thread, there are threads in core as well. That is, each core can have a core can be threaded also. One core can execute 2 threads as well. But I'm assuming that the core is not there is no hyper threading. Each core can execute only 1 thread at a time.
What is hyper-threading?
In what the concurrent execution and multi-threaded execution are possible?
So is your question what is concurrent execution and multi-threaded execution?
Both are looking similar.
Yeah, they are.
What way these two are different?
So concurrent just means that the programs, so a multi-threaded execution is a concurrent execution, but concurrent execution can also be of the type when there are 2 programs, 2 processes, and those processes are not multi-threaded. They do not have multiple threads, but they are executing, one is running on one core, other is running on one other core, or they are sharing the same core also. So they both of them are making progress. They are overlapped.
If I have, I have one more thing. If I have one program and is it possible for me to break the program into parts and use the concurrent execution?
Yeah, that you can do by rewriting your program into a multi-threaded program.
So if it is one program, multi-threaded execution is possible. If you have two programs, then concurrent processing is possible.
I'm saying when there are two programs and they're not multi-threaded, and if your OS allows the can allow preemption, that one process is running, it can preempt that and then run the other process. In that case, concurrent execution is possible.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will not go into the detail of hyperthreading now, because that is an architecture concept, or that just means that the core is able to execute multiple threads at the same core can execute multiple threads. Instead of one thread.
I'm so
One question. Yeah.
like that, ma'am. The normal computers which on we are working, and if we look it for many people are working on different systems, so it is like multi-threaded concurrent execution, like something like that. That multiple threads are working in different cores or sharing the same, and multiple programs are simultaneously going on.
Right. Yeah. In my system as well, there are probably, I don't know, 8 cores or 4 cores, and I'm running a lot of programs simultaneously, and most likely they're multi-threaded programs.
Ma'am, in event based, what would be an event? Can you elaborate?
So there can be multiple examples, like I just gave one.
You meant like something, the action the user is doing response to that, it is responding, it is reacting, the system,
Yeah.
that is like event based.
Yeah, that is one event based, and I also give you an example where a user is not doing any action. Let's say, I think you might not have heard of this scenario where there are consumer producer process. So there is one process which is responsible for generating a data, and then there is another process which will take that data as input and process it. So there is process 1, which I'm calling producer, and that producer process is going to generate some data, and whenever the data is available, that is an event. Event here is that the data is now available, and whenever the data is available, the consumer process will start, take that data and process it. So here the event is that the data is generated and is available. So that will be also an event based.
If we look by this thing that you are saying, one program is playing the role of producer and it is generating data, and the data is fed into some other program as an input. It is taking up by itself and it is behaving like a consumer. It is consuming it. Then, ma'am, it would be like, ma'am, there is no human intervention in there, but that would be not possible, I think so, because it would violate the laws, I think.
No, that is possible.
But the program that are being designed, that are only being designed by humans, so at starting phase there is human intervention.
No, when you start the program, of course a human is starting the program, but after that the program will run on its own. So program can do things. For example, here the consumer can be, let's say, so the producer can be, let's say, I'll just give you an example of a very simple program scenario. Let's say the program keep writing log into a log file, okay, and whenever the log file is full, let's say the log file size is 1 GB, then the program triggers an event. The event is that log file is very huge, now store it on the disk and just empty it. Now for this, a human intervention is not needed. You will not want a human to come into the picture and tell your program that, okay, 1 GB is full, then I will allow you to write it on the disk, right?
Log file, you are saying like logarithms like that?
No.
Something.
No, I'm just saying, let's say your program, you have written a program, let's say a database, and the database, every time a user accesses, let's say, some data, you are going to write into a file that user1, let's say user Tushar accessed this data. I'm just writing some log means I'm just logging some events, something into, so that I have,
Storing that events accumulating together.
yeah, so that later I have it's like a history of what actions, what events have happened. I should not
ma'am.
use the term
Action
event here, it will confuse
in
you.
the Google like that, action play center or something in YouTube history like that.
Yeah, what has your program done? It's like a history of the things that program has done. That is a log.
Chrome's history.
Yeah, Chrome history, or when your laptop is running, when it starts, boots up, until when it is running, it is whenever, let's say, something happens, crash happens, or so you're starting something, it is going to write that report into a log file. You can check and find that log file, it is there in your root. So I'm just saying that if there is a logging daemon in your program, and that is it, whenever the file has exceeded some size, let's say 1 GB, that is an event, and when that event happens, then that will trigger some other action, like some other part of the program.
Relate it with one example like that it is, you are saying logging, the producer part can be like the task manager in the system. It is managing all the tasks and keeping the record of it. It shows if we open it, and if it overloads, then as we close the things, then it is relating. If we ignore the part of our, then it is like that.
Yeah. So
Okay, ma'am. So
so
basically, you are saying firstly, the human intervening, and it is like switching some button on, and then the producer comes into action, and it is performing its action, and then producing some data sets into database, and that consumer is taking up and is doing his part, and they are both doing like in symbiosis, something like that.
yeah, but a human intervention is not needed. I'm saying that event-based programs does not necessarily require user action.
Yes, ma'am, I that understand. I am saying that for once it is requiring, because the programming is done only by human, and then on it will not get itself started. Once it is started, then there is no need of human intervention. I am saying like that. From that point, we can take it like that. No human intervention is needed. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you start your laptop, then your OS starts, and then the OS will start a bunch of services and etc. on your laptop. But that OS, you are not doing everything. OS is a program, and that is doing a lot of jobs, and
Yes.
so one program can start other programs or can do something. Okay.
They are like in mobile also, background apps.
Yeah. So
Ma'am, you are saying that log files are in a system in root where it is.
you can go to /var/log. I think they, in one of those places you will find.
In run, we have to type this slash thing.
Oh, if you use Windows, I'm not talking in terms of Windows, I was telling in terms of Linux, but I'm sure you can find something similar in Windows also.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's come to problem number 3. Choose the correct statements from the following. If I'm going very slow, and if you guys feel that I'm spending a lot of time on one problem, then just let me know and I'll try to do faster. And also one question, have you guys already taken course on operating system?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so in the last problem I talked about lot of these terms.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, basically it is we are doing NPTEL course. Many are doing it for credit transfer in our colleges as an open elective course. And it is like that we are not from the field of computer science. Some are not doing BTech also. Some
Oh.
are from other degrees. And some are doing, so they might have
Okay.
OS
Okay.
in them.
Okay. Okay, so if you did not understand a lot of things in the last slide, I talked about threading, course, etc., then it's okay, because those things you will understand better once you have taken a OS course, and it's not very important. I'll just say that. If you did not understand, then don't, it's okay. Okay. Problem number 3, choose the correct statement from the following. First statement is, in high level language, testing and debugging a program is difficult than assembly language. Second, C programs are highly portable on any type of operating system platform. Third, flowchart is a visual representation of the sequence of steps for solving a problem. And fourth, the role of a compiler is to translate source program statements to decimal codes. And you are given 4 options, A, B, C, D, and you have to tell which one is correct. I'll wait for a couple of answers in the chat box. Okay, so many of you have said answer C.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, ma'am, what is an assembly language? And the fourth option I cannot relate to the role of a compiler is to translate source program. That is, I can understand program statement to decimal codes, like it is converting into binary.
No, not binary, decimal numbers, like,
Okay, decimal, that types of number system we study, that thing.
yeah.
So, ma'am, I think except 3 all are correct. But that is not in the option.
Yeah, you can look at the statements once again.
So I think maybe A option is pertaining.
Okay, I'll give someone else. Many of you have said option C seems correct. So I'll ask one of you to tell me why. What's a
Ma'am, I don't
high
think
level?
the third option is correct. So C would get wrong because third, not the second. C program are not highly portable on type of operating system platform. I think so.
Okay.
Highly comfortably they can work.
Okay.
If that was the case, then that would not require any other languages.
Okay, I'll come to that. Let me go over statement by statement. And so many of you have said answer C. That means first statement is correct, which is a high level language. In high level language, testing and debugging a program is difficult than assembly language. So first I want to ask, what is a high level language and what is an assembly language? And those who said that this is correct, why is it correct?
High level language, so I know that is we speak English language. I can tell it by example. And machine language is that the computer has some language based on which it works. So the translator interpreter. So one language which intervenes between our language and the computers. It tells what we are asking the system to do, and in its own language, and converting that thing to our language to tell what the output is done by the system. That is in high level language.
Okay, I'll give someone else. I'll also ask somebody else to try and tell me why is, like many of you said that first is correct. So why is it correct?
software errors, debugging.
Yeah, Tushar, I would like someone else to try.
Okay, ma'am.
Anybody else?
Correcting the mistakes.
Yeah, debugging and testing. Okay, that means you made some syntax error in your program or some error, and you are trying to debug that. That's a debugging. But I'm asking, why is it easier in assembly than high level language? Is C a assembly language or a high level language?
It's a higher level.
Language.
Yeah, C is a high level language.
Is the assembly language is the language close to the function.
Yeah.
Assembly language only understand by the computer.
Assembly language will have the instruction something like mnemonic and operators, operands are directly the memory location.
Yeah.
So in that way, I feel the assembly language is faster compared to the high level language. High level language usually contains like statements and also contains variables and constant range is also very high. Whereas the assembly language has limited.
What is limited?
That is, so the range of the constants that you can take.
But you can represent any constant. You can represent in C in assembly, because assembly is what you get after you translate C. Assembly language is as expressive as the high level language. And
I don't think
Assembly
it is not-
language is not decimal codes, it is in binary form.
no, it is not in binary form. Binary representation is called machine language.
No, it is like this statements only, but the numbers what we use must be mentioned in binary code or hexadecimal code.
Yes, ma'am. What that was, I think hexadecimal number system is being used in assembly language.
Yeah,
I think so.
that is correct. But so are you guys saying that is the reason why first is correct or not correct? That I'm not understanding.
Ma'am, first is not correct.
I feel
First is correct. First is correct. First is correct.
Okay, so
Can you
I'll
tell again assembly language?
okay, I'll give the explanation now. So the first statement is not correct. It is not correct. And one thing is, you all are you guys learning C before assembly or assembly before C?
Learning first C.
Right? So you will learn something that is easier first. You are learning C because it is easier to understand, it is easier to write, and it is easier to test and debug. If assembly,
Basic language will be the same thing, and some advancements on that thing.
assembly language is a low level language. Someone has asked that what is the difference between assembly and low level language. So assembly language is the low level language and C is the high level language.
yeah, first one is false.
Yeah. So
But the increase of time required for assembly is less compared to this high level language. But as mentioned here, testing and debugging is difficult.
yeah, testing and debugging is difficult because the program in assembly has instructions which are architecture specific. So if you're writing a program which you want to run on Intel architecture, then that assembly code will have Intel specific instructions, which are examples will be move instruction, add, subtract, compare, or jump not equal, call, return, etc. and these are dependent on the architecture. The semantic is as defined by the architecture, what operands they take, source operand, destination operand, etc. All of that is architecture dependent. So to write an assembly program, first you need to understand that architecture, the instruction set of that architecture, what registers are available in that architecture, etc. Then you can write the assembly program. And the assembly program, when it's difficult to write, and if it is difficult to write, then it is difficult to debug as well. While in a C program, at first it is close to English language. You understand the semantics of different constructs in or, and when you give the program to the compiler, then the compiler also spits out some error if there is a compiler error, if there is a syntax, not a compiler, if there is a syntax error, if instead of int you wrote integer, then it will actually go and spit out an error message for you that integer is not recognized, like you, that the compiler does not recognize something called integer. So did you mean int? It will give you a hint also, did you mean int? So it is easier to debug a program in a high level language like C than the assembly language. That's the first statement. Second one is C programs are highly portable on any type of operating system platform.
Ma'am, can you tell what are registers and what are semantics?
Sorry Tushar, I did not understand question.
Ma'am, I was saying that you were telling in the assembly language two terms, that registers and semantics. What are these? Can you tell?
But registers and meant the physical registers. So the process, that's a okay.
That you meant like record of data.
No, so it's a architecture specific. So register every processor, yeah, that means a CPU.
C language is low level language.
One by one, can I'll just answer this and then I'll take one by one the questions.
Ma'am, C language is low level language, but don't high level language.
C language is the high level is a high level language.
Ma'am, C++ high level language.
C and C++ both are high level languages. C, C++, Java, Python, etc. All of these are high level languages.
Yeah, ma'am.
And yeah, so register, what I said was architecture register. Like your Intel architecture, your processor which is in your laptop will have a register. Register means it's the lowest level of memory. So there are different, like there is a RAM, then there is caches, and then after that comes the register, and I will not go into more detail than that. Register is something which is like accessible by the processor, and so you have to name the exact register where you want to keep the information in an assembly code. You will have to tell that I want to keep the information in register EAX, EBX, etc. While in
It is encrypted.
no, it's not encrypted. So it's not encrypted. Assembly code is not encrypted, but I'm saying it is a very low level code. It's very close to the processor. It's very close to the processor architecture. So that's why it's harder to write it and harder to debug it. But while in a C code, you will just write int A. You don't care where A is stored or how the memory for A is allocated by the compiler. That all of that thing is done by the compiler, which is a big piece of code which sits between your program and the processor and does the translation of a high level program, which is C program, to the machine code which can be understood by the processor, which can be understood and executed by the processor. So the key takeaway is that C is a high level language which it's easy for humans to understand and write and debug, while assembly is a language which is close to the processor, depends on the processor architecture like Intel architecture, ARM, AMD, etc.
And by architecture, you are meaning the way it was built, the programming, the languages by which it is built. That is architecture.
No, the architecture is the CPU chip.
Okay.
The chip or the processor which is there in your computer, which is
And ma'am, you are saying that
hardware.
the big piece of code that is sitting there in between the two codes that of the system and of ours. So that is what that you were telling. What that is?
That is the compiler. So
Okay, ma'am.
whenever you are going to write your C program, you will call the compiler. You will write a command which calls the compiler, takes as input your C program, and then it will give you as output a binary. If you use Windows, then it will give a executable .exe file. If you use Linux, then it will give a .o or object file, which can be run, which is a binary, which is a machine code, and that can be run by the processor. That is the CPU chip on your laptop or computer.
So ma'am, you are saying we are saying something. We are performing action on the system, and it is taking up through the compiler that and comprehending in its own language, machine language, and then the compiler translates it back to us in form of .o that depending on the system we are using.
Yeah, so the compiler is also a program. It takes as input your C program and gives you as output the executable file, .exe file, like the binary file, .exe file in case of Windows, and .o file in case of Linux.
So now compiler will always use C language, not any other language.
No, there are so a compiler, like if you'll have to use either different compiler for different languages, like you use GCC for C language, G++ for C++ language, and for Java there'll be some other compiler, right?
MinGW,
Etc.
Sigwin, like that.
Yeah, and then there is one more compiler called LLVM or Clang, which can be used for translating multiple
Ma'am, for Python
languages.
we use IDLE, that is also compiler.
So the IDE that you use, that invokes the compiler for you. When you click on that build and run button, it will do that command invocation behind. You don't have to write the command, it will do it on your own. Like you can say that is an event based.
So ma'am, we have to do less work in there. We have to just only tell the task and not go in much detail, not to
Yeah.
specify it. And it will
Yeah.
take up all the things.
Yeah, so the IDE is doing the job for you. You don't have to write the command exactly. The command like GCC program.c -o program.o. You don't have to write this command. The command will be written and executed by the IDE itself.
What is answer for this question?
So he was asking that we use IDEs, like maybe you guys must be using some IDE for running C programs, maybe Visual Studio or something else. So in these IDEs, you have option to build and run. When you click on that button, build and run, the program will get compiled and it will be run. You don't have to write a command to the compiler. You don't have to invoke the compiler program yourself. That compiler program is being invoked by the IDE for you. That was the question, I think.
Yes, ma'am. In assembly language, assembly is like that. Together many things are there. So in context, what would that mean?
Assembly, what?
Assembly is like we normally see if we go by a live example like that. Many students are standing in a row. That is called an assembly. Like a group and columns are. Many students are there in various rows. That whole bunch is called an assembly. So is it similarly like that?
No, that is something else. This is else.
What is it then?
Okay, I will not be able to go into that detail now because we are short of time. But what I can just say is a low level language. So in C, if you have to, I can give you just
It is a processor specific coding language.
yeah, it's a coding language which is low level and processor specific. Yeah, and so I'll just give you an example. Let's say if you have to write int a, int b, and then there is you do a plus b. That is your C program, like int a, int b, and then you say int c is equal to a plus b. That is the way you will write a C program. In assembly, what you will do is that you're going to say move EAX comma some value. Let's say a value you assigned as 1, b as 2. So move EAX comma hexadecimal value of 1, move EBX comma hexadecimal value of 2, then add the add instruction, add ECX comma EAX comma EBX, etc. Where EAX, ECX, EBX, all of these are registers, physical registers which are available in that architecture. So
Okay, ma'am.
which is easier to write? Of course C is easier to write. So yeah, as he said, it is a coding language which is close to the processor architecture.
Yes, ma'am. That's why it would be hard to write because it is close to like a machine language, binary or hexadecimal that we cannot easily understand and remember. Only a genius can do. That never forgets anything.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am. My doubts are over.
okay. So then the second option is C programs are highly portable on any type of operating system platform. So portable means you can take the same C program and you can run it on any operating system platform with very less amount of work. Okay, and operating system examples are Windows and Linux. So what if you have written a program, you have written it in Windows, you have a Windows system, then you can give the same C program to your friend who runs a Linux machine, and what your friend will have to do is that use the compiler to compile it to an object file, and then he will be able to run it. He won't have to rewrite the program. There is no requirement to rewrite the program. Just a compilation of the program is needed for the other operating system platform. So that is why C programs are highly portable, because rewriting is not required. Then the third option is a flowchart is a visual representation of the sequence of steps for solving a problem. That is it's just an English sentence, and I think all of you will understand. Flowcharts are easy to, they are visual representation, they are easy to understand. Then the fourth option is the role of a compiler is to translate source programs to decimal codes, which is not true. It translates the source programs to machine language, machine code. So the option number 2 and 3 are correct. So which is B is correct. Now we have problem number 4, which is when we write x is equal to y in C, which of the following statements is valid? X and y both have the same value but different locations. X and y have same location, same value, have different value, different location. Sorry, different value, same location, different value, different location. So,
Correct.
Mitesh and Ashutosh.
A is valid.
Okay, yeah, all of you I think have got it correct. That A option is correct. X and Y have same values because you are doing an assignment here. You are assigning the value which is in Y to X, and they are having different locations because they are two different variables, and by the definition of a variable, each variable has a memory location, and there are two different variables. They have two different locations. That's easy. Now problem number 5. What will be the output of the flowchart given below? So I want you guys to just try to do the calculation. It's easy. This flowchart is meant to represent a C program. So answer to the previous question is A, that x and y will have same value but different locations. Yeah, so the answer to this is 16, and now I'll just go over it. A is equal to 3. So in this block, first block here, I think you can see my cursor, A is equal to 3. We are starting the program. Then we have two variables here, A and B. Variable A is assigned value 3, B is 2. Then in the next block, we're doing addition of A and B and assigning the value to B, which is 3 plus 2 is 5. After that, we go to the block number 4, which is, or 3, which is B equal to A times B plus B by 5. So B we know is 5. So 5 divided by 5 becomes 1, and 5 divided by 3 is 15. So 15 plus 1 is 16, and then we print B, which was 16. That's this. Problem number 3 was this, and for problem number 3 the answer was B option. And yeah, someone was speaking. Harshita, did you have a doubt?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, MVS.
Correct. Yeah, the second option saying the program highly portable.
I'll take that question at the end because I've already covered this question.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll just take that question at the end. And someone had asked in the chat that what was the answer, so I'm telling that the answer was B option. If you have any other doubt regarding that question, I'll take them in the end. Now let's go to, I think the problem 5 was clear to everybody that the answer is 16 for this. Now problem number 6. The output of the following algorithm is.
Ma'am, 28.
Yeah, I think that's the correct.
28.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Okay. I think many of you have solved it, so I'll just go over it once for others. And it would have been nice if my whiteboard was working or something.
Answer, what is 28?
Yeah, the answer is 28.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll just go over it verbally because still I'm not able to write. So sum will start from this block where sum is equal to 0, n is equal to 0. Okay, these are two variables in your program, sum and n, which is initialized to 0. Then you would go directly down to this block where you add 1 to n and then assign it to n, so n becomes 1. Then you go down, then sum is equal to sum plus n. Sum is 0, n is 1, so sum becomes 1. Then you go to this diamond block which represents a conditional. The condition is checking whether n is equal to 7 or not. If n is not equal to 7, then you will go up, otherwise you will go down. So since n is 1, so we'll go up, n becomes 2, then we will add 2 to sum, which was 1. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Then we will again come back here. 2 is not equal to 7. We go and we will loop like this. So when n becomes 7, at that time we will come out of this, we'll take the yes path in after this conditional and we'll print the sum. And sum will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7. Because we started from 1 and we are coming out of this condition only when n equal to 7, and we are going to add every number before 7. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, which I think is 28, is all of you said. So any doubt in this? Okay, great. So next problem is print the values of a and b of the flowchart below. Declare variables and assign values.
Ma'am, A is 6 and B is 4.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. A6B4, it is the program to swap the values, interchange, rewrite them by raising their previous values and then rewriting it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, correct. I think most of you got it. And it's very
Ma'am,
simple.
previous question, then it was like we were doing the sum of n numbers and where n was equal to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will not go over this because I think it's easy. You just have to add and subtract here, and it is the a will be 6, b will be 4. They will be swapped.
But in the question, their answer was 16. They have to also check precedence and that things also, the two rules which come in role.
Yeah, when you are doing that multiplication, addition, etc., then you'll have to do according to that.
Can you tell about that? I don't remember much about that.
Precedence, I also don't remember the exact rule, like which operator has more precedence over the other. I'll also have to go and check. So I think plus minus have lower precedence than multiplication and divide, and I think
Yes, ma'am.
multiplication and
Some
divide.
difference that board mass, the conventional rule we follow.
Yeah, it's same in C. Yeah, it's same here. If you
Same there, but in general it is different.
how is it different in general if it is board mass there?
Ma'am, if it is same there, then in many problems answer would come from board mass. Because of precedence, the operators would work like plus and minus over their multiplication, and over there also like slash and modulus operators, they also work, so the answer would get changed because that part would work there. The operator of high precedence is there and other rule is also there, which is the answer change.
Okay, I'll let you go back and check the precedence or for operators and work out a few examples for that. I think that is not a big issue. I think you'll be able to find that. The program which translates high-level program into its equivalent machine language program is called.
When you told, I think it is a translator.
Yeah, it's a translator, and I think We call it a compiler. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm myself confused with this because generally I think compiler term is more popular, but maybe a compiler is also called a translator.
Ma'am, can you tell what are language processor and what is converter?
Translator. So translator is anything which converts one language to the other. I think that's a very generic term. And language processor, converter also is a very generic term. You convert something to the other. Language processor is also a very generic term. I don't think that any one of them should be correct. I think it should be none of the above. It should be a compiler. But does anyone have any other answer and they want to tell me why? I mean,
मुझे तो बस कंपाइलर लग रहा है.
Ma'am, can it also be interpreter?
but the option is not here, right?
None of these.
Yeah, so the
None of these.
first thing is the interpreter is not here. Second thing, it does not convert a high level program to a machine language program. Interpreter will not, even if interpreter was here, it would not have been the answer.
Ma'am, but in some languages where compiler is not in place of compiler there are interpreters that performing the same thing like in
Python
Pepsi, Java language.
We are getting confusing because while explaining compiler, we are asking it is a translator or it is a convert.
Okay. I did not
I
understand,
have a
but
question.
yeah.
मैं मुझे ये पूछना था कि इंटरप्रेटर के अंदर मतलब कंपाइलेशन थोड़ी ना होता है.
Yeah, so the interpreter and compiler are different. So compiler takes a whole program and converts it into a machine code. Okay, while interpreter, what it does that it goes over each line of the program, which is the code. So please don't unmute yourself unless you want to say something. And so the interpreter looks at one line of your program and then convert it into the to the instruction which will be executed, but it does not spit out a binary for that program. It does not spit out the machine code for that program. It will just do it like simultaneously. It will read the next line of the program, it will translate it into the code that can be executed on the processor, and then it will go to the next source code line.
तो फिर मैम जो इंटरप्रेटर होता है वो असेंबली लैंग्वेज में या मशीन कोड में कन्वर्ट नहीं करता सोर्स कोड को.
It does not, it converts it internally, but it does not give you that representation as an output. It will convert one line at a time. Like you will, if you will have, let's say, 100 lines in your program, so it will go to line number 1, convert it, then run that. Go to line number 2, convert it, run that. But it is not storing that anywhere. It is just converting it into a format which can be executed by the processor. But it is
So
not.
it would be like an ID that you were telling that it would fastly work and don't pay much heed to that thing. It would store the most important thing and the rest would be flushed out. It would store it in the garbage memory, I think.
No, I did not tell anything about that. I did not tell about that interpreter. That was a IDE. That is a completely different thing. So compiler generates the machine code. Interpreter does not generate the machine code. Interpreter on the fly, it will take one statement of the program, translate it, execute it, go to the next statement, translate it, execute it, and that's all. And Python is an interpreted language, while C is a compiled language. From whenever you have C,
हमें इंटरप्रेटर के अंदर मतलब आउटपुट शो होगा जब हम एग्जीक्यूट करेंगे प्रोग्राम को पूरा.
I think, yeah, you can say that. We are
नहीं, जैसे कि कंपाइलर में क्या है, वो तो पूरा सोर्स कोड जो पूरा का पूरा सोर्स कोड है, एक बार उसको कंपाइल करेगा और एक ही बार फिर उसको एग्जीक्यूट करेगा,
yeah.
और आउटपुट भी एक ही बार शो होगा।
हाँ.
और इंटरप्रेटर में आप कह रहे हो कि लाइन बाय लाइन चलता है, कि एक लाइन रीड करी, उसको एग्जीक्यूट करा,
हाँ.
मतलब उसको कन्वर्ट करा पहले और फिर उसको एग्जीक्यूट करा,
Right.
सेकंड लाइन ऐसे, मतलब जितना भी सोर्स कोड होगा।
Right.
तो मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि आउटपुट स्क्रीन पे आउटपुट कब शो होगा, मतलब जैसे हमने लाइन बाय लाइन लिखते रहे तो आउटपुट शो होता रहेगा, या फिर एक ही साथ आउटपुट शो होगा?
No, line by line, it is executing line by line, but you are not writing the program while it is interpreting. You have written, it's stored in a file, and then you say run the file.
अच्छा, वो एक फाइल में स्टोर हो जाता है।
Huh. You will write a program in a file, and then you will say that run my file. Then it will run the file by interpreting one line at a time. And you will get your output line by line. If you have print statement on every line, it's going to print every line.
ओके मैम।
So next is an interpreter reads the source code of a program. I think we just discussed it. So one line at a time.
यस मैम।
And the compiler interprets the complete program in one, I shouldn't say one stroke, but compiler takes the whole program and then gives you the machine code. Okay, so the last question which we have is it's a factual question. The C language, sorry, I'll just go over this question and then I'll take all of the doubts because it's a last.
Ma'am, D.
Yeah, AT&T Bell Labs.
It's a map.
Right, yeah, fine. So these were all the questions and the answer to the last problem is T. So Prajwal, I think I'll have to... Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. The option D is correct. So this is done. We are done with problem 10. Okay. Now if you have any questions in the whole session, then you can ask me one by one.
मैम शुरू के 4 प्रॉब्लम बता
Could
दीजिए।
you please tell about assembly language one? Assembly language, what is meant by assembly language?
Okay, I'll tell about assembly language. And Ashutosh, I think I don't have enough time to go over the first 4 problems now, but I think I've recorded the session and you can see them in the recorded one. What is the answer to problem number 9? It's interpreter reads the source code of a program one line at a time. Now someone asked what is an assembly language. So assembly language, first thing, it is a low level language. Low level means it is hard to understand for a human. Why it is hard to understand for a human? It is because the language is written in the instruction so the language, it's a coding language, first thing, which is close to the processor. So if you you write the program according to the architecture or the processor that you are targeting. If you want to write the program for an Intel architecture, then you will have to be aware of the instruction sets of the instructions which are there in the Intel architecture, Intel processor. If you want to write for ARM, then you have to be aware of the instructions supported by ARM. So it is a language only, just like C. You can write programs in assembly also, but it is harder to write assembly codes because then you will have to go through the entire instruction manual of that architecture, which can be a tedious process. Did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other question? I think someone earlier had a question about that option number 2 here. C programs are highly portable on any type of operating system platform. So what portable means? Portable means you can take that program, run on other platform. let's say I have this Linux machine. I run a Ubuntu operating system and I wrote a C program. Let's say I write this program, this one, okay? The answer to this program, I think we found that was 16. Okay, so I write this program in C on my machine and then I compile it using say GCC and I get a binary. I run that binary, I get answer 16. Okay, now to one of you I will give the same program. Let's say I've created that program and I share that program on the on the NPTEL website. Then maybe one of you is running a Windows machine. You will download the program, C program. Will you be able to compile and run it? Yes, you will be able to compile and run it. For that you will have to use your GCC compiler again, and now GCC will compile that program in the machine code which is specific to your architecture and to your OS. If you are running Windows machine and Intel architecture, then the code which will be compiled by GCC will be specific to your OS and the architecture. So a C program, you will not have to change anything in the C program that I have given you. You'll just have to compile it. So it is highly portable in the sense that the amount of work that you do will be very less. You'll just have to run a command. You don't have to do anything else, right? So that is why C programs are highly portable on any type of operating system platform.
But we need a compiler, right?
Yeah, you will need a compiler.
So definitely it is a dependency.
Yeah, it is dependent. Yeah, there is dependence, but the amount of work is less.
Ma'am, what is JCC?
Object file, is it possible to run the object file without compiling it straight away on Linux? It was created on Windows.
No, that you cannot run.
Ma'am, you were saying in this.
So in both the cases, we need source.
Yeah,
Without
source code.
Having object file and .exe file both together will not work.
No. You will need the source code and you'll have to compile it for that particular platform.
Ma'am, you were saying in this option that we would not to rewrite the program if you write some program and you give it to another after compiling to run the same program. So there are two ways. Either he writes the same program or she again and then compiles, or if he takes it from you and then compile in the compiler as per the requirements. So he would do less work. You were saying that.
Yeah.
And ma'am, in this thing you were saying object, that object, what is that, ma'am?
File, it's a file format.
Ma'am,
So
I was asking in context, so that you were saying it means like object-oriented language.
no. I said the object file. So that is the executable file which is generated on Linux. .o
But
file.
object in terms of coding, how
Yeah, those are different things.
program recognize it is an object.
Those are different things. Both are different. One word can have multiple meanings in different contexts, right?
This C compiler reads the source file and converts it to machine readable code or file. That file is called object file, I think. Am I right, madam?
Right.
Can you repeat,
Ma'am,
ma'am?
what is JCC?
GCC is the compiler. It's an
Even the source code may not be portable because size of, for example, if we take Turbo C, size of int is different than in Turbo C than a normal compiler. So the source code may not be portable completely, right?
But who decides the size of the variable? It's the compiler.
I use for example, I use Turbo C. You give me the source code, you will written in code blocks, and I cannot run that.
Turbo C is that IDE or compiler, right?
Yeah, it's a compiler used to compile C, right?
Yeah, right.
The size of the int is 2 bytes in Turbo C, but if I use code blocks, the size of the int is 4 bytes, right?
Right, that is right. Okay.
Yeah, this means that the source code is completely not portable, right?
No,
No,
portable.
I understood. The level of portability is high. It's not apt. Without changing differences, it's not possible. The level of portability is high, medium, low. It's qualitative.
For example, if you use Java, you create a byte code that is completely portable in any machine.
Yeah,
But
because yeah,
but in C you should give the source code.
yeah,
The Java is more portable than C.
yeah, that is true. Java is more portable than C.
True.
So how can you say the C is portable for any operating system, right?
It's portable in the sense that you won't have to rewrite the program. You can compile the same program.
Oh, okay.
Ma'am, can you tell again the definition he told about the object? I was not able to listen it properly.
So it's not an object, it's an object file, means file. Files are like there are different files in your system, like text file, MP4 file, MP3
Ma'am,
file,
my
or
question was
PDF.
like that, how the AI working there, the coding that is working, how it recognizes that it is an object and how it is another thing. I was asking that. Can you tell?
It's not an
Object
object.
file is a file like .c file. The extension of the object file is
That I understood.
.c.
That I understood. I am asking now a different question. How any AI would recognize that it is an object and how it is another thing?
What is an AI?
AI, ma'am, I am saying like system. I cannot define it properly. I cannot say it properly, but it would be the system, the coding, programming, something that is working in the computer. How would it recognize that it is an object? I am asking that.
First thing, there is like AI is not the term, and
Yes, sir.
so the OS can see the file. It can see the extension.
Looks at the extension of the file. Once it is objective file, it takes into it accepts to run it further, and it gets into the file. Once it is machine code, then it will not be a problem. It will run and create executable file. Otherwise, it will return with an error. It cannot proceed. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I think that is correct. Okay.
Ma'am, but I was saying that extension is also defined. It is also put as per the definition, as per the thing, but makes an object in terms of a program. I'm asking like that. Extension, then only we can apply there, no?
I think you are confused about what an object and so object oriented programming is different, and this I'm just saying a type of a file. So files can be of different file, text file, PDF file. As one of the file type is object file, which is a executable file or a binary file which can be run, which you can run. Any other question?
Ma'am, can you show question 8? Ma'am, then 9 and 10 because I was left out of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Ma'am, the answer is one line at a time, interpreter.
Yeah, it is one line at a time.
10th question,
The 10th.
that would be last AT&T Wells USA,
Right.
I think.
Yeah, right.
Ma'am, one question I was asking and I was left out of the meeting due to network. Ma'am, I was asking, ma'am, how are and that Python is different because they are both interpreted languages. Can you tell? Because I am
Python
not
and
able to. Python and R language. R is used for data analytics, ma'am. Because we work in data analytics on R for one semester and DOCP language. So I cannot quite completely understand how R is working. So can you give me some brief idea about that? Matlab, what is the
I
difference
haven't
between R and
I
Python?
haven't worked with R language, so I won't be able to give any good answers there. And I think every language has some advantages over the others. Like C is a faster language.
Ma'am,
So Python
two
and
language.
R will also have some differences. I think if you work with both of them, you'll be able to understand.
My worked, but in C we learned the syntax and that thing, but in R we only write that code, but there is no logic behind that. Teacher tells some logic behind that, but there is not full explanation about that. So that's why I was not able to understand it.
Now, I'll suggest that you take some help online, some tutorials.
NPTEL there is R language course also, if you know.
I am sorry, but I don't know about that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, so someone asked, can you run exe file without the source program? So the answer is yes. There are many times you install something in your Windows laptop. You just download the exe file and then you say that run it, install it, and it does. Right? You don't compile it. It is there already compiled.
Ma'am, C language is high.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Madam, what is the platform you are using or recommending to run the program?
Oh, I'm
Visual Studio or Turbo C or Core, let's say, this kind of
I think you can use
software.
any you're comfortable with. You can use anything you're comfortable with that you find the interface easier to work with, because that really it's not that important actually. In fact, I myself do not use any IDEs to write the programs usually. I work with either VI or just a notepad most of the times. So I am not very familiar with the for C++, and sometimes I use Visual Studios, but not that much also.
But in the end examination, we practice on both Turbo C and they give Visual Studio.
Oh, okay, for the end exam. I don't think, I'm really not sure what will be the format of the end exam. Is it a coding exam? I think the exam will probably be multiple answer questions like
Ma'am,
these.
in the NPTEL there is given in introduction session before lecture the week 0. In it there will be multiple select question. They have multiple correct answer, multiple choice question out of which one would be correct, and coding questions also. That one exam is proctored that we have to give at the
Okay.
center.
Okay.
Vigilation of one person. Teacher there or something centers would be as per our city state,
Okay.
and one unproctored exam that we have to give
Okay.
from home, that would be a programming test.
Okay, so I am sorry, but okay. To answer your question, I think I'm not sure what will be the platform that you will be given, what will be the IDE that you will be given to work with. I think that question can be answered better by the instructor. So I really have no idea about that, about the exam, really.
Ma'am, so C is an high level language, and the languages which came before it, like I think PHP also came before it. I don't remember exactly. They are low level languages.
I think PHP is also not a low level language, but I think there are different language. I think the PHP will be for different purpose. Probably I think it's a web related language. So that's why there are different languages. I'm really not sure about PHP. I've also not worked with PHP.
Ma'am, can you tell what are the types available of languages? What is that web level language that you are telling about PHP?
No, not web level language. I'm saying that to do web programming. I mean to make web pages, etc. Like HTML, CSS. These languages are there. I think PHP is also one of the language. Yeah, web browsers. Yeah, like JavaScript, etc. Those languages are used to write programs for browsers, web pages, etc. C language is usually used for servers, etc.
Can you tell what are different languages types in coding?
Language type and coding.
In coding, what are the types of languages?
I think there are only these two types: high level languages and low level languages. High level languages are all of these: C, C++, Java, etc.
Ma'am, like a specific word, there comes oriented languages like that.
Oh, like object oriented languages, C, C++, and yeah, they can be many, I think, in that case. I am really don't know that many languages actually. I never know. That's all.
So, what is the significance of C in 2023?
Oh, C is widely used. So C is like the Linux kernel, the OS is written in C or C++ because these languages are languages which are close, like which allow you to do memory, access the memory and do memory operations and etc. They give you a lot of freedom. And there
Does
are
any other language have that type of freedom?
so C language is also like Rust. I think Rust is also becoming very popular. It's a memory safe language also, and Rust is also getting popular now. And I think different kind of applications will have different kind of languages. Like if you go in data science, then Python is more popular. If you go in web development, then HTML, CSS, PHP, these are popular. If you are writing system level code like for operating systems, databases, then C language, C++ language, these are more popular. So it depends, I think, on that. Rust is also very getting popular.
Maybe in a Google survey also there is like the newly developed languages are less frequently used and worldwide comparison because people don't have much knowledge about that, and also there are less teachers aware about that languages to be taught in the curriculum in schools. They are slowly being enrolled in the curriculum. We already know it in
Yeah, but so that is not the reason why they are not getting popular or anything, because you may learn in your curriculum only one or two languages.
Yes.
Most of the time, all of the languages you'll have to pick up yourself, and generally when you switch from one language to the other, I think once you have learned few languages like C, maybe C++ or Python, then after that I think it is not so difficult for you to learn a new language, because mostly programs do the same thing. Yeah. And there are really a lot of languages for different kind of applications, and I really don't know about them.
But it is also based on that for what purpose we are doing that language, and also if in interview there are two types, I think, developer language and programming language. From one programming language, there are questions asked more frequently, and then from development language that we use for our own development purposes that are less asked. I think so.
I think the interviews, yeah, they will be specific. I think that is very subjective. About interviews, what they ask, that depends really on what the company is looking for. So it's very subjective, I think. What will they ask? But for a computer science student, I think one should focus on one language, one or two language if you know, C, C++, and you should have a good knowledge of data structures, algorithms, and how the computer really works, what is an architecture, what is an OS, etc. And most of the time the interviewers in, at least in your BTech, they will ask you data structures and algorithms in the interviews.
DSA and competitive programming.
Yeah, that is usually asked in the BTech interviews.
Ma'am, competitive programming then would only be about one or two languages, and how fastly and how correctly we are tackling the questions.
No, competitive programming means you are given a problem, and you will have to you'll have to look at the problem, and then you understand the problem, and you try to find is what type of a problem it, what data structures can I use, what algorithms can I use to solve this problem. It's a process, I think. And also you have to do it fast, so you'll have to use fast algorithms and optimize it. That's competitive. Okay, so I think we are, yeah, so I think that is it for this session. We solved these 10 problems, and I hope everyone understood this. Most of the people have left the meeting, so I'll stop the recording